Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and of course I'm joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen, and some more of our unfortunate but obvious predictions are coming true regarding interest rates. And John, you found something out of Germany regarding negative interest rates. Can you go into that a bit?
Well, actually, this is historical. Actually, this is the first time a deposit rate for you having money in the bank for regular residential people. You now have a negative interest rate of 0.4%. So this has happened, and the bank that has happened is actually not a huge bank, but it's the bank is called Raiffeisen Bank in Gmund am Tegernsee in Germany, and it's a population of 5,767 people. But what they've done is it's not, of course, the regular people. They say that all regular people will never get negative deposit rates, but they have it for people that have an excess of 100,000 euros. Now, going back to that, this is quite insane, and I'll just go through a couple of things that the guys were mentioning in this here, and this is from one of the board members of Raiffeisen Bank, and he says, with our business clients, there's been a negative rate for quite some time, so why should we not be different with private individuals with big balances? Joseph Paul, a board member of the bank, said by phone on Thursday. As it looks today, charges on deposits won't be extended to customers with lower amounts under 100,000. But he said in this bank, there's actually 140 individuals now that have to pay a negative interest rates on the money, and it's a fee of 0.4% that can be taken out, and of course it's beneficial on a larger sum because the banks makes more money. Now, the historical thing with banks and what people have said is, when you put your money into the bank, you actually borrow that money to the bank, and the bank will pay you a return.
Yeah, you don't actually own it yourself.
Well, what's going on now? They totally changed it. Now you actually have to pay the bank to keep your money there, which actually they borrow from you.
Yeah.
And then they take and turn it around and spend it on bad investments.
It's another added tax.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he says, people say that, it's a tax on thrifty Bavarians. People that actually have done something, saved up some money and taken care of themselves. They are the ones that are going to get, blamed for all this and taken down. The people that actually have been good with their money and not spent all of it or have created some value in their lives. Now, indeed, introducing sub-zero policy in June 2014 with a cut to the deposit rate to minus 0.1%, ECB President Mario Draghi said the move was for the banks, not for the people. Should banks decide to transmit the reduction to savers, that's their decision, he said. Of course, to wipe his hands off of the dirty things that the central banks are forcing everybody to do because they set the interest rate, not the fair market.
Yeah.
And since then, the ECB has chopped their deposit rates to actually then 0.4, which they currently transfer directly over to Raiffeisen Bank. Now, the risk for ECB policymakers now is that negative rates begin to filter through to the real economy while growth and investment is still sluggish, bringing the downsides of policy without the upsides. The euro area growth slowed in the second quarter. Data was released this Friday. What's interesting is that especially Germany is one of the highest deflationary countries in the world with a very aging population, and they're going to have that deflation happening no matter what they try to do. So they're going to really have to try to fight hard in order to keep the Eurozone, like all the Western countries, because they have a natural deflation in population. And the younger population is not able to keep up to them and buy when they downgrade or buy when they sell their shares. So we're gonna have something really bad around, and it says that negative rates depress their profitability. Some are already charging corporate clients with large deposits. The Bundesbank estimated last year that the low interest rate environment will cut pre-tax profits of German banks by 25% by 2019. So actually the banks, because the banks get charged, for their deposits at the ECB, and they're getting taken over now. just to go further down there, deposits of both households and non-financial corporations have been growing over the past 2 years at a similar pace to before we entered negative interest rate territory. He said in his speech, rates on retail deposits seems to have a zero or lower bound destination.
Oh, man.
So we've been talking about this. We said that, interest rates are going to go negative. They're not going to go up, guys. And we're going to do another video right away on negative interest rates and the promise from the United States to raise interest rates for the last year.
Well, let's go into this for a second, actually, John. So let's go over why interest rates go negative, because we know the banks, the central bankers, they print money out of thin air, they create inflation, they devalue the dollar, create debt, then people end up being taxed on it, they have to pay for it when they go to the store with inflation, and we see things like these negative interest rates. Can you kind of go into why this is happening?
Why this is happening is because we're stuck in a death spiral right now, where if you were to increase interest rates very much higher, which they should if it was a free market, all this debt would collapse because it would not be payable. The $19.4 trillion in U.S. Government debt, all the other debt in the world, which is a massive debt empire that's about to collapse. If you raise the interest rates on that debt, especially a lot of the corporate debt as well, we would literally end up collapsing the whole system. So that's why we can see those rising interest rates, because if we have a natural deflation in the system, let's say, and they let the market take over. Now, when you have deflation, that debt will actually increase in value. It will become more expensive to pay back, and it's completely unsustainable right now with the United States and very many others like Canada and a whole bunch of others that are getting into all this debt. So what they need massive amounts of inflation in order to keep the system going and make the debt cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to continue the perpetual debt-driven system. So they're done. We're seeing the last kind of breaths of the economy in its current state, and just looking at history, it always happens like this, where they overexpand their debt burden, and then it all comes back and collapses in on itself because there's not enough more debt to push people into to pay off the old debt. So the whole system just goes to crap.
Yeah, and this begets monetary enslavement, as you've even pointed out, of course, in your book, The End of Freedom, How Our Monetary System Enslaves Us. And, of course, this is a global issue. It's coming to everyone. It's coming to a place near you, folks. What can I say? I mean, it's been something that we've been talking about for several years. Actually, I remember listening to Ron Paul back in 2009 talking about this is going to happen. And, of course, unfortunately, once again, Dr. Paul is right. And, we haven't had a lot of people that are willing to really focus on this issue and be able to, do something to stop it, because this is part of the script. They've been basically elapsing this for a long time and pushing us closer and closer into it and getting us from all angles, from bail-ins to bailouts to debt enslavement to these negative interest rates, which are just absolutely insane.
Yeah. The guys that predict that the system is going to collapse are totally right, but they set a date on it, and they believe by looking at fundamentals that it actually will collapse in on itself on that date. Well, if we were to follow fundamentals, it would happen. But today, you got to look at the thoughts and beliefs of these monetary elites, these PhDs that are running a country, and they're willing to manipulate the system until it's completely dead and until they can't do it anymore.
This all comes from absolute manipulation. If we had free markets, there'd be smaller monopolies, little things like that, but these things wouldn't happen.
Because they don't want a depression. A depression is terrible. It really sucks.
But they also thrive on debt. I mean, these elitists, they thrive on debt. They love to see debt.
Well, they need to create this system in order to put themselves up on the top, because they are the controllers of the system, and they use it to enslave everybody else and to steal everything from everybody else.
Yeah, there's no greater way to enslave humanity than through the monetary system, especially with all the big words that they're using within the monetary system that no one can understand, and it just turns people off from trying to learn about the system, and it's just an easy way to take advantage of people. Our very money, which is just currency, it's just this polymer paper money, the digital currency.
It's actually worse than paper here in Canada. Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is just continuing to elapse. The globalists are pushing this forward, and we've been talking about it for a while. It's not the vindication we want, but it's the vindication we have. So I like to kind of go into this every time we do a report. What's the bottom line, especially to the people in Germany that are dealing with this right now?
Well, the bottom line is your banking system will collapse at one point. We don't know exactly when. It depends on how great they are manipulating.
Overly manipulated, so you can't pinpoint. Yeah.
It always comes back to, and I think a lot of Germans that still are alive, because there are some of them that are definitely still alive and remember the Weimar Republic collapse.
Yeah, not many, but a few.
And there's some of them that actually understood how valuable commodities and gold were during that time. Mm-hmm. It just will skyrocket in value and be very valuable to you. And then, of course, understand what your local community thrives on and likes as their main commodity, and suck up on that. Yeah. It's just protect yourself with things that cannot lose mass amounts of value. Things that are solid, things that actually people need to use to survive in daily lives.
Be independent when it comes to your food, your water, your shelter, when it comes to taking care of your family, when it comes to especially the monetary system, in order for you to survive this calamity, which is on our doorsteps. We can't pinpoint the second that it's going to happen, like many people, a lot of charlatans out there like to try and do, but it's going to happen, and it's inevitable, and people need to take charge and be able to take care of themselves and be able to protect themselves. I mean, it's getting to the point where people are just so dumbed down in so many ways that they're just going to fall right into it. They're going to be broke, they're going to be in debt, and they're going to be asking, please help me government, help me bankers. And that's exactly what those elitists want.
And you know what the government will do if their debt collapses, or if they have to repay back that debt? Well, they would just hike your your tax up to 95%, and then we'll have Britain. We had it in the United States back in the day as well, 91%. So
one for you, 19 for me. Yeah, absolutely. It's total insanity. We're just trying to get into this and try and get that message out there. We're just messengers. We need you to take action as an individual for yourself, for your family, and put this information on to your friends. And it's very important, because not a lot of people are talking about it, but we feel it's very important to talk about this, because this is the future, unfortunately. And we can get above it, we can prevail, but we need to be strong. We need to be strong-minded individuals and independent individuals. So thanks again, John. We'll go into this much more soon. Check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. Any donation helps. Even sharing the donation page helps. We do this completely free of charge because we believe in it, but we also can't do it without you. Any help that you can give is very much needed, and we very much appreciate it. So check out those links, and we'll be back at you with much more coming soon. So thank you, John. This is Sigurdson, John Sneisen, signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.